Do you love God but still feel anxious or overwhelmed? Have people or experiences shaken your ability to trust? Have you tried to pray harder, push through, or think differently but still feel stuck? Would you like to finally be able to calm your mind and emotions? I've been there. I struggled for years with anxiety, intrusive thoughts, and feeling like I was failing spiritually when I wasn't actually at fault at all. I was simply experiencing the effects of trauma in my nervous system. Now, as a licensed professional counselor and certified EMDR therapist, I help other Christian women to understand and process what's happening to them so that they can experience the healing that Jesus provides through good therapy. That can be a miracle too. Welcome to Trauma Healing for Christian Women. I'm Michelle Croyle, and I'm here to tell you that you're not failing, you're wounded, and wounds can heal. So grab your favorite beverage, a notebook and pen, and take a deep, relaxing breath because you're about to be refreshed. Let's get started. What if the thing keeping you stuck isn't what you think? Today, I want to give you an experience that might help you look at what you're struggling with from a different angle. Now, I'm not saying this is going to change absolutely everything in every way. That would be just way naive, way too much. But this might just help, at least in some small way. And so I'd like you to just consider putting yourself into a position of curiosity and to look at what I'm saying as something to run your thoughts through and see if there's any truth to it in some capacity. So if you are willing to participate in this episode with me, it's just for experimental purposes. It's not therapy, but if you're driving, you're obviously not going to want to write anything down. Just think through the questions with me. But if you're somewhere where you can grab a piece of paper, open your notes app on your phone, pull out your journal, I'd encourage you to do that because this little experiment is going to be with the way that you're thinking. And I wanted to just start here. Sometimes there's something that we want so badly, so deeply, and it seems like we just aren't able to get it. Maybe it's peace, maybe it's feeling closer to God, maybe it's relief from anxiety you've been carrying. Maybe you just want to stop being so affected by something that happened years ago. Maybe you're waiting for a relationship to change, or you're praying for God to change a situation, right? You're thinking, if this one thing would finally happen, then I could be okay. Okay. Whatever that is. And again, I'm not expecting this episode to change everything. When we've had trauma, that's just too Pollyanna-ish. But I want you to consider today the way that you're thinking about what stands between you and what you want. And see if there are any ways that the way you're thinking about it aren't doing you any favors. Now, I'm not saying this to blame you in any way. You probably are beating yourself up enough. That is not my intent, and I don't want you beating yourself up. This is simply to take a look at what might also be beating you up, things that might help loosen the grip of this. If we could just look at our thoughts differently, sometimes that can loosen up the way that the heaviness is, I don't even know what to call it, that weight of this just feels like it's never going to budge or it's never going to move. Sometimes just noticing that feeling and saying, it feels like it's never going to. And so therefore, I tell myself, it's never going to. And then asking it, what is it I'm telling myself when it feels that way? That's what I'm talking about. What do you tell yourself in that moment? Do you tell yourself, I might as well give up? Do you tell yourself there's no hope? Do you tell yourself, see, God can't be trusted? That's the thing that's getting in your way. That's the thing that's adding a heavier burden on top of what's already a burden that you don't need. You don't need that extra interjection of something that just is not helpful. It feels like a conclusion. It feels like something that makes sense, but it's something that you've added in there. So again, I'm not putting blame on there. We don't need to add more to this. It's not that we need to struggle extra. It's that sometimes we don't realize that we're already struggling extra because of that silent addition, that thing that we're adding on that we don't need to add on. So could there be something happening in your thought life that is unintentionally making you feel more powerless than you actually are, or making things feel more totally devastating and never going to feel better, never could feel better than they actually are? See, that's a different situation. Because when we've experienced trauma, disappointment, rejection, unanswered prayers, betrayal, chronic anxiety, situations that truly were outside of our control, our brains can begin developing conclusions about life. Nothing I do matters. This is just the way I am. God's punishing me. I'll never get better. God's not going to help me. I need to help myself. Until they change, I can't have peace. My childhood messed me up permanently. I'll always be anxious. I've tried everything. Nothing works for me. I'm the only one this isn't going to work for. These thoughts can feel like facts. They can feel like observations. And what they really are lies. They feel true, but they're not facts. They are simply conclusions that your brain made because of feelings. They're kind of brain predictions of this must be the reason. No, it isn't the reason. Your brain just filled in the blank like a cause and effect, and your brain is wrong. God does love you. Things are changing. Things are able to help. You are not powerless, right? So for this little experiment, I want you to think about one thing you really want right now. Just choose one thing. Even if you want 10 things, choose one thing right now. Maybe it's I want to feel closer to God, or I want more peace, or I want to stop feeling so anxious. I want to feel like myself again. Okay, got yours? Now fill in this blank. The thing keeping me from having that is. You don't have to try to give the right answer. Just whatever comes to your mind. My childhood, my husband, my anxiety, my faith, I lack too much faith, what happened to church, my circumstances, my fear, I'm not good enough. What fills in that blank? Why are you not able to get what you want? God doesn't care about me. I'm not worthy. What are you actually noticing? What are you actually thinking underneath the surface? And then ask yourself, once you reveal what you're actually filling in the blank with, that maybe you weren't even realizing wasn't factual in case you do uncover something that way, ask yourself, is it something you can control? So ask yourself, is it factual or is it not? And if it's factual, ask if it's something you can control or not. And if it's not factual, what can you control about that? So maybe you can change something about the way you're thinking about it. So think about how you can have some control about the way you're thinking about it. What can you change about that? And if it's factual and you can't control it, what can you control that you can do differently? We as human beings can spend enormous amounts of emotional energy trying to control things that aren't ours to control and believing things that aren't actually true. We try to control other people's behavior, other people's opinions, whether someone else understands or apologizes or believes us, right? We think that we have a complete understanding of things that have nothing to do with us. Sometimes we think that there is cause and effect of stuff that we have nothing to do with. It just feels like it. There are some things that we can control and some things we can't. But sometimes the reasons that we think things are happening aren't the reasons that we're attributing to them. When you don't feel close to God, it is not because you're far from God. He is close to you. When you're anxious, it is not because you're doing something wrong and God is punishing you. But maybe you could do something that would help you with your anxiety. Maybe you could practice some deep breathing. Maybe you could make that phone call and reach out to someone who can help you. Maybe you could spend some more time thinking about God's way of looking at a circumstance rather than scrolling TikTok all the time and hearing what those people say. Do you see how there is stuff that you can do that can help? And it starts with noticing what our thoughts and our behaviors and our feelings are telling us and what we're doing with them, and seeing what we're in control of and what we're not, what's true and what isn't, and then deciding what to do with that information. If you would like some help with healing your trauma, or you would like to have some encouragement, there are ways to connect with me for therapy or in our Facebook group, and you can find out those things in the show notes. So I hope you'll listen in next week. I hope this was helpful. Again, just an informational exercise to notice where your thinking goes. Because the more that we can reflect on the way that we show up in our own thoughts, feelings, and actions, the more we can be aware of where we have power and where the Lord actually is moving, what He's asking us to do, and what He is doing. Sometimes we attribute things to Him that really are just us doing things, getting in the way, looking at things wrong. And sometimes they're just areas where we need to surrender things to Him. This isn't to beat you up. It's to notice how to get out of your own way. The content that you heard today is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not to replace professional therapy and is not to be considered a professional therapeutic relationship. If you would like to work with me, please reach out through the contact link in the show notes. I'd love to hear your story. And if you liked what you heard today and would like to share it with somebody or leave a rating and review, we greatly appreciate it so others can listen in too.